I never meant to hurt anybody. I never meant to put in jeopardy the Russian population. I never meant to break any laws here. I know everybody keeps talking about political pawn and politics, but I hope that that is far from this courtroom. I made an honest mistake, and I hope that in your ruling that it doesn't end my life here.
That was Brittany Griner pleading with the judge for leniency before her verdict was read today in a Russian court. The judge ignoring her apology, handing down close to the maximum sentence of 9 years in prison, finding her guilty of charges of drug smuggling and possession after the WNBA star was arrested in February at a Moscow airport for carrying vape cartridges in her luggage. After the verdict, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken condemned the Russian justice system and called efforts to bring Griner home a personal priority. Russia has said that any talk of potential swap for Griner and fellow jailed American Paul Whelan would have to wait until the court's verdict. Let's bring in Mary Ulashina, a Russian journalist writing for the Washington Post who has been covering that country for close to a decade, and Tom Firestone, former president, legal advisor at the embassy in Moscow. Mary, let us get a sense of what happened in the courtroom today. Could you kind of give us this idea of what the mood is there, and certainly how is this playing out across Russia? Because Brittany Griner is pretty popular in Russia.
She is indeed. She has a lot of fans, especially in Yekaterinburg, where her club is, where she played off-season from the WNBA. And the court today, I'd say the mood has been changing. I think, at some points you could see Brittany sort of smiling and trying to, communicate with her lawyers and talking to the translator. But when it came to actual sentence, the mood obviously, went downhill because the judge dismissed all of the arguments that the defense has presented, asking for leniency, explaining that, she had a prescription in the United States for medical marijuana, and that she, as a professional athlete, used that occasionally to relieve pain from multiple traumas she sustained. They did not take into account the characteristics that people sent to the court on her behalf, and they said, and they continue to maintain, that she intentionally brought these cartridges to smuggle drugs into Russia, something that Brittany obviously denies, and she says that she had no idea that the cartridges were in her luggage in the first place. So at some point you could see how she was basically apologizing to the Russian people and to her family, and was tearing up.
Tom, as we mentioned, Secretary Blinken has said it's a priority to bring Griner home. President Biden, in fact, also calling her detention unacceptable in a statement he made today. We are really just seeing one side of this, though, and certainly these negotiations have been on the public side here in the U.S. What will the U.S. posture publicly be in the coming days and weeks now that the verdict has been announced, but also what is the private negotiation posturing going to be like between Russia and the U.S.?
Well, it's hard. We don't have a lot of visibility into the private negotiating posture, but it's clear the administration is going to redouble its efforts to try to get her out. President Biden said that. Secretary Blinken said that. It's hard to know, though, what they can do at this point. They've already played the big card and offered Victor Bout in exchange for these two Americans. The Russians, of course, came back and said they want Vadim Krasikov out, which the administration dismissed as not a serious offer. He's a murderer. He's in German custody, not in the U.S. custody. So it's hard to say what they're going to do. They will redouble the efforts. Maybe they'll try to repackage the deal, but they're in a difficult situation right now.
It is. It is very hard to watch and see the pain that she's going through right now. But we appreciate you, Mary Ulashina, and Tom Firestone for being with us this afternoon. Thank you. A step in the right direction to hold the officers accountable for the murder of Breonna Taylor, killed by police officer in her home now more than 2 years ago. We'll tell you about that development next.